Welcome back. You're watching ED Inside. India is the world's third largest pharmaceuticals producer in terms of volume. Yet a large percentage of its population lives without basic healthcare and has little access to medicines. The country's dismal healthcare is now becoming a huge opportunity for Big Pharma. But the fear is that the onslaught of Big Pharma may cause drug prices to spiral out of control. So should customers like you and me be worried? Nikhil Sivadas finds out.
35 of the world's blockbuster drugs worth $30 billion are going off patent this year. The list includes the world's largest selling drug, Lipitor, which alone has sales of about $11 billion. The opportunity loss will be huge because margins on patented products range between 90 and 95%. But when the drug goes off patent, copycats offer options at a fraction of the cost. According to IMAP, when a drug goes off patent, it sees a price erosion of about 70%. Simultaneously, the developed world markets are becoming saturated and new drug formulations have slowed down substantially. The strategy for Big Pharma's survival then is simple. It wants to have its cake and eat it too. And what better way to do that than to acquire companies in emerging markets like India that are dominated by non-patented and copycat drugs or generic drugs.
But we do continue to look at bolt-on acquisitions, so maybe deals up to $1 to $2 billion type of territory. Buy in just to be here. We're already very big. So what's important is we buy high quality, we buy businesses at good valuations that make sense to us, and businesses that fit properly with our current business because we have such good platforms already.
Needless to say, the acquisitions will be made to gain a dominant position in the $107.8 billion world generics market. According to IMAP, several large pharma companies adopt a self-cannibalizing approach rather than give up territory to others before the expiry of a patent. For instance, Nycomed launched a generic version of Pantazole before the expiry of its patent and now claims a 70% market share of generics in some markets. The question then is, how does the rising influence of Big Pharma impact prices of drugs in generics-dominated markets like India?
More the competition, prices would definitely come down. And everybody is looking at quality generics now. You know, the days of the vanilla generics are gone. So if you really want to do well in the generics business, you need to, have some new products, new delivery systems in generics also. So the more the people participate, there is more money into it. There will be more competition. And it will be like any other business, if people don't fall in line with the prices in the market and they are not competitive, they have to go out. You either fall in line or you fall out.
The Department of Pharmaceuticals has studied prices for 7 top companies each from the domestic segment, MNC segment and the MNC acquired segment for the price patterns across packs for the period between May 2009 to 2011. According to the study, prices of a large percentage of packs across 3 categories remained unchanged, and the patterns for a price rise of 5% and more than 15% were similar across categories, if not equal.
When we look at past trends, there are no concerns that increasing consolidation would affect pricing. The second point that I also would make is that the market is still pretty fragmented in India. Even after some of the recent acquisitions that have happened, MNCs only have so all MNCs together in India, in the pharmaceutical industry, have less than 28% of the market, which is substantially lower than in many other parts around the world. And again, even if you think about some of the price realizations of Indian companies versus MNCs, you actually see very little difference between if you look across categories.
Documents available with ET Now reveal that the Planning Commission was of the view that the similarity in price trends across categories indicates that no conclusion can be drawn to support the fact that acquisitions by MNCs of Indian origin companies has resulted in price increases. But that's not to say that prices are not a sensitive issue.
The health sector and the prices of medicines are very sensitive issues, very important issues for the well-being of the citizens in the country. So the Health Ministry's caution and alarm is very necessary. We have to respond to it.
Currently, the government controls prices of 74 of a total of 354 essential drugs. But even in the case of uncontrolled drugs, major price hikes have to be justified.
Some products are under price control and majority of the products are outside price control but are being monitored. Whatever be the inflation, no one can increase the price by more than 10%. If any company increases, one have to justify that.
For drugs that are not under a controlled regime, prices are driven by demand and supply dynamics. And more players will mean more competition, which in turn will ensure that prices remain under check. And if matters go out of hand, the government can always step in to rein in prices.
There are other restrictive methods by which the government can control prices. There's a competition commission, there's the NPPA, and of course the main challenge is there are enough suppliers that this drives prices down anyway. Today in India we have the lowest priced medicine available in the world, and for each medicine there are at least 50, 60 or sometimes even 100 suppliers. So this will be an automatic price leveler.
But some industry insiders are not buying these arguments. They have questioned the Planning Commission's analysis, saying that the DOP assessment is based on the number of packs without taking into consideration the turnover of these packs, which is material for the pharma industry. And most importantly, the analysis is silent on price increases in the range of 5 to 15%.
It's too short a period to assess the impact on price increases, but still the data which was available, an independent data has been furnished and which showed that in case of one company, price increases between May 2009 to May 2011 in the 2-year period has been between 20 to 120%. Now this is independent data, and these were the main brands of the acquired company.
Apart from that, there's a visible change in the way both Indian and MNC companies are now approaching generics. Para 4 filings that challenge patents are now passé. It's the day and age of licensed generics, where the innovator company ties up with a generics manufacturer to produce a generic version of a drug that is going off patent. The generic company does not have to fight any expensive legal battle, and the innovator company gets a new revenue stream from this licensed generic.
Everyone's looking for partnerships there. It's Indian companies trying to commercialize their molecules, looking at global alliances so that they get the right reach, right level of support for the critical development which is required for the developed markets. Similarly, MNCs are looking for both in-licensing and out-licensing for both the Indian market and the developed market.
The worry is that all the M&A activity and the alliances are turning the market in favor of Big Pharma, which will exercise its muscle power in distributing and marketing its own products. That in turn will kill domestic generic companies. With the number of suppliers falling, the strong players will call prices.
Today the drugs are cheapest in the world in India. If this foreign investment comes, and as many people have taken over the Indian generic company, let me tell you, it's a matter of time, within a decade or so, this cheapness or reasonable price of the drugs in India, I think consumers will suffer it to a great extent. So foreign investment should be restricted to come or to acquire a generic company.
There is no doubt that there is merit in both sides of the argument. And here, India can learn lessons from how global markets have dealt with the impact of Big Pharma on domestic drug prices.
The best example I could think of are companies especially like Italy and certain other countries. And if you go back to Italy, they had a similar regimen as ours. But the moment they allowed 100% investments, they had completely allowed patent laws to be observed, and they had that same thinking that generic drugs will be more expensive and there will be some issues on pricing of drugs. And if you really look at what happened after they started bringing in these kind of policies, the market actually expanded. There was no major effect on the impact on drug prices, and I personally feel that, this is something which we really need to deliberate and discuss.
The argument against that is that Big Pharma forayed in the developed world markets decades after their homegrown companies acquired the scale and size to compete. In comparison, the Indian pharmaceutical sector is still nascent and companies are still too small to compete with Big Pharma. But not everyone believes that.
It depends on the maturity of the local industry, and where the local industry is underdeveloped, there is probably reason to worry. But in India, we are globally competitive. We are the largest exporter of drugs to many markets in the world. It's a highly competitive and well-established industry. So there should not be any worry about the entry of multinational companies into India.
These points and counterpoints will be discussed by the Prime Minister over the next week in a meeting with all stakeholders from the industry.
Keep watching ET Now for a detailed account of that crucial meeting and more. But for now, it's a wrap on this edition of ET Insight. Do send us your feedback and suggestions. Thanks so much for watching.